and welcome to Out and About Art, your PGTV source for all things art in Polk County. I'm your host, Yasmin Ali. This month, we're heading to Haines City to check out a unique art experience. Haines City Wings is a citywide arts initiative that was launched by the Community Redevelopment Agency to engage residents and visitors in a selfie-crazed world. I got the chance to speak with City Manager Derek Feature and CRA Project Manager Jane Waters to learn about how this mural project came about and how they hope these vibrant wings will impact the lives of Haines City residents. Let's check it out.
The Haines City CRA, we are the Community Redevelopment Agency. Even though we're all in the city, we kind of operate a little separately. Our job is to eliminate slum and blight, but more importantly, it's to establish vibrancy and economic prosperity in every area. And so that looks a little different in a neighborhood than it does in downtown, but it is about prosperity, beautification, and revitalization. Murals, they speak to the community in a different way. It's public art, so we had to be very careful in what we selected for our first projects. Because we are the City of Angels and deemed so by the Florida Chamber of Commerce well before I got here, it made a lot of sense to do angel wings in a selfie project. It not only becomes a beautifying factor, an arts movement, it becomes an engagement piece that our residents can use for years to come. So that was kind of the first idea, and then in addition to that, we've started doing some street mural work to connect our downtown to our walking path, for instance, to beautify alleys. We call them TRPs, Tactical Redevelopment Projects, kind of a fun term for get out and make something pretty. And we're utilizing high school students and school instructors, school art instructors to kind of lead the mural project. So at this point we've installed and painted one street mural that's absolutely amazing. It was fun to see the kids working. It was fun to see two different schools, a high school and an elementary school, both working together to complete the project. And then with Wings, it's just been interesting to watch it sort of come to life all over the community.
You think about it, we're trying to find what's the niche for Haines City. What's that thing that's going to cause us to have people come and visit our community? We'll never probably be the largest city in Polk County, and that's not what we're after. We're after creating something that draws people, not only from Haines City to come out, but throughout Polk County and out throughout Central Florida to say there's something unique about this community, and if I don't come and become a permanent resident, I'll visit often.
One of the most encouraging parts of the Wings project has been the random phone calls and the random residential stop-ins to ask what's happening. Art is that restorative tool in any community. It's why we're seeing more CRAs really statewide embrace the arts as one of its tools and its measures to revitalize and restore a community. Very engaging, but again, just a lot of fun to see the community kind of go, whoa, what's happening in Haines City now? So we've seen a lot of that as we've kind of started putting up the 8 pieces and the street mural.
Yeah, well, I knew that we as an organization needed to have something that drew people in. And I've been talking since I got here about how do we do these challenges that not only get the community involved, but young people to realize that there is something great about our community. And I knew that Jane had the background of just bringing people together. I really didn't know how it would all come about, but I knew that if I were to give her a task, that she would take hold of it, and I knew that art would be. And so beyond just me going, let's do some selfie wall type stuff, the research, the background of the City of Angels. Angels are on our street poles when we have the celebration during the holidays. And now it's gone from just angels to art and bringing people together. And so when you look at it, great minds are working together. And I think this is going to be something that we do every year. I don't know what she's going to top it with, what type of new adventures that we're going to go on, but the City of Angels, I think we just got to share that and have that challenge of people trying to find them. I could see it potentially where you have individual business owners trying to create something that may not be a selfie wall. It might be a structure that they want to put in front of their building, and people go take pictures with them and tag the City of Haines City.
Selecting the artists for murals, it's a little bit different when you're selecting muralists than when you do a call to artists for anything else, because you really have to know that they can do a wall mural, okay? Because it will wash away. There are a million things that can happen on murals. So we did a call to artists that was very specific. Very fortunately, we had a couple of out-of-state artists that I've known for years that saw it on a Facebook post and were like, I'm gonna come down and do that, you know. Brilliant artists, all of them. We ended up with 8 different artists, and the final artist was actually, you know, they're all beautiful to me, but this one was so unique because I wanted to give proper credit to the originator of wings. You know, it's more than just a city of angels. We're a united city. We're a city that has dynamic possibility and is already doing amazing things. So to bring a powerful message of unity and love along with the angel wing theme into our community, it all just worked in my head, you know, and as a movement, it makes great sense because it is something, as city manager just mentioned, that we can build on for years to come. This isn't a one-time deal. This is this year. Topping it will be tough because Colette Miller agreed to come to Haines City and make us part of her Global Wings movement, which is a really, really big deal. You know, I don't know if the arts community was prepared for Haines City to hit the global map the way we did on our first project, but that's okay. That's kind of how we roll in Haines City. We make it big and make it happen. So Colette's kind of a great find, but I'll tell you the thing that I think the community is going to love most about her is her elegance and her love. And the entire message of why she does wings worldwide. And when I say that she is coming as a gift to our community because she loves what we're doing, she's coming as a gift.
It's amazing that we have tapped into something where you can walk outside by our library and see a young kid taking a selfie, or you can go over to the Lake Eva Park and see someone getting some water, and next thing you know, they see wings on the side of a building. And that's what we want. As I stated, we don't have to be the largest city, but we have to be the city that people want to come to. We have to be the desired destination that people come to and say, wow, there's something great happening here. And I think we're seeing that. And I mean, this is a great challenge for Jane and her team in the CRA. This is a great challenge for our Parks and Rec crew. This is a great challenge for the arts community throughout Polk County to find out that there are great individuals who want to be in the Haines City community that have talent, and that these young people have an opportunity to share their gift, and those who have been sitting at home trying to figure out, what can I do? How can I get involved? This is another opportunity for that to happen with what we're doing in our CRA. My goal as the city manager is to make sure that we're one city with one vision, and that we have the opportunity where you almost see, it's funny, you go to big cities like the New Yorks of the world and you see the actual the trains that are going by, and you see people tagging trains. We want to do almost similar something to professional tagging, that they have the ability to have a wall that changes out periodically. This is something just, I see that these young kids who are trying to tag places have this wall that changes periodically, that they can go put artwork on, and then after so many days, we go make it white again, and they have the ability to come back and put their piece of art it's almost like a moving art piece that changes based on the individuals who are part of the process. And I think that gets people more involved. And you may find out that there's an artist that can be a very successful individual based on something that Jane has seen or she's worked with these young kids in our community.
I think it's very important to expose all ages to new art and to new creative resources. If we're talking about the individual residents that live in our city, this is their home, and their home should be beautiful. Their home should be something they're very proud of, and art will help them to establish that great pride. Additionally, it will pique their interest. You know, we'll have residents who've drawn since they were 3 years old and never been in a painting class that will now go to a painting class that's offered at Parks and Rec because they now believe that they too can do what they've seen done. Everybody needs that example to get started. You know, Wings was that for Haines City, the proof that art can change a community. You know, I often am tagged in media saying art can change the world, but I believe that art can change the world. It is the most dynamic tool currently used by CRAs nationwide as a restorative measure. So it is a CRA tool. It is part of what we do. One of my favorite things with the residents is to say, who in here is an artist? We're in group meetings, and you know, you have 2 people raise their hand. I go, oh, so nobody here writes. And then more hands go up. Does anybody sing? Oh, and then other hands come up. You know, and so it's giving them a platform to say, I live in a creative community. I live in a space where it's okay to be creative and to be who I am. And there's no judgment in art, regardless of what some may think. We have to be accepting of the arts. We do.
We are truly bringing stuff to people that may have never done this. What we're doing here through not only our CRA, but through our Parks and Rec, through our development services, through the city manager's office, through public works and utilities, we are making sure that people have access to things that they normally wouldn't have. And I think we've opened up our front porch for people to come in, take a seat, get a glass of lemonade, and enjoy what others have been enjoying throughout Central Florida. Now we're bringing that here because you may not right now be able to go out. But eventually, once you see it here, you'll realize that there are great opportunities for art throughout Polk County, throughout Central Florida, and it may take you away from us to travel, but then you'll bring that gift back to us and share because you realize what we were trying to do here in the heart of Florida called Haines City.
For more information on the Haines City Wings project, you can follow Haines City on their Facebook page. Next up, we're shining a spotlight on Stephanie Syrakis, a portrait artist who teaches art at Lake Gibson Middle School. She grew up in a small town in Michigan where her father inspired her passion for drawing with pencil and paper before moving to Lakeland for its vibrant arts community. Let's take a look at the artwork of Stephanie Syrakis.
I am Stephanie Syrakis. I'm a portrait artist. I choose to do it in any media I can get my hands on, watercolor, pastel, pencil, anything. My father was an artist and he would make little drawings in my lunchbox. I thought those were always really cool. He could draw Bart Simpson in like 3 seconds. So I just wanted to learn to draw to be like him. I started practicing and trying really hard and working with my dad, but I'm from a tiny, tiny small town that just has like a stoplight, like just one. There weren't art stores or a lot of art teachers or anything, so it was a lot of me and my dad and paper and pencil. I was majoring for art education, but didn't want to find myself without a job, so I double majored in language arts education. But when I graduated, I just couldn't see myself grading essays for 30 years, so I came down here and tried to get a job, and I loved that this area has such a big arts community. When I was Googling and trying to find out anything about Lakeland, I just wanted somewhere on the water, and this one is called Lakeland, so it had to have water. And I looked up its arts community and it had so much going on, so I was excited to move down here and have a teaching job and have a community that was focused and enriching the arts. That's important. As an art teacher, it is such a huge deal when you see students at art shows able to sell their own work. It is huge to them to validate their love and their interest for the arts. I have students that apply for Harrison School of the Arts for dance and theater, and it's amazing when they get these opportunities to grow and be enriched in the arts, and to have a community that supports them is essential. I tell my students all the time I didn't have art until 9th grade, and I was by far the worst in the room. You know, my father had talent, but it's not something that came natural to me. I worked and worked and worked and worked at it, and I still every day am working at it. I draw every single day. And I tell my students that, you know, they're middle school and they're already ahead of me. They already have, you know, an art teacher and an art class and assignments in front of them that I never got to have. So they're already a step ahead. And I think I very rarely have a student at the end of the year that says they can't do it. They're always so impressed with how far they've come. Well, I really like photography. I'm a photography teacher as well. So when I take a portrait of somebody or I see somebody in a certain light that I just want to really quick get a picture of, then I'm inspired and want to draw it. A lot of times I have to walk away because I'm frustrated and it's not looking like I want to. And then at a certain point you just keep at it and you work at it till it turns into something beautiful and right, and then you stop. You have to know that moment of letting go, being done. And sometimes I'll frame it and be like, oh, I wish I would have fixed that. But for the most part, you know right in the middle of it when you're done. It's just peaceful and it's calming. You know, my only thoughts are how to make it better and what the next step is. And I like that it's a constant learning process in fixing mistakes, that no mistake is permanent. There's always a way around it and work, you know, a way to rework it. I'm just infinitely impressed with art and the different things I can do with it and the different materials I can use to create it. It's just, I see my students get really excited about someone and I get excited. I just taught my first big lesson last year on art history, and watching them get excited about all these different artists just got me excited. Taking the kids through surrealism and watching them try to figure that out. And then at the end of the year, every year I take them to the museum in St. Pete, and watching my students see the work is always just awesome. It's great. It's life-changing for these kids. It's an outlet for them. It improves graduation rates. It gives them a reason to go to school. My kids get so excited about what we're doing in art class or photography class. It gives them that brain break that they need from math and science. But it's still, you know, they have to come up with creative problem solving and creative solutions and work that right side of the brain. Working with your whole brain instead of just those analytical things teaches them so much more than what they're going to get in their other classes. Again, you know, my focus and drive in this world is being an art teacher. So that always came first above my own art. So being a good art teacher and entering them in every competition I can get them entered into is crucial to me. So I got really involved with obviously the art shows that the Polk County School Board goes through. Our program here for visual art and visual art teachers is incredible. There's so much support, far greater than what I would have ever seen in Michigan. Myself, I have art teacher friends that so much of what we do as far as creating in our own work is just lesson examples for our students. Most of the things I have on display are just lesson examples I do for students because we just don't have time for other things. So I had an art teacher friend that said, all right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna start creating art that is just for us, that, you know, maybe we can sell and do something with it. Doesn't just sit at our desk and doesn't get shown to middle schoolers and then put away. So she's an art teacher at Tenor Rock High School, and she's really pushed me. We joined Lakeland Art Guild. We're joining everything we can, you know, every art show and competition, just to get the experience of it. And it's very different. I learned with Art Crawl the experience of being an artist at an art show versus an art teacher. You know, being an art teacher, I have this pride of all my students getting compliments from other people as they walk by and saying they're so talented. It was really weird for me to hear it directed at me. I'd never had an art show where people are walking by and looking at my own work, but at the same time you feel very vulnerable. Like, oh, they're not gonna like it. But we're trying to push each other, and a bunch of art teachers are. I think you know, I see them at classes all the time that are just local community art classes, and we all have art training, but it's that practice and that sense of community that we love getting involved in and engaged in, and making us better makes our kids better. So it's important to us.
For our final segment, we're heading back to Haines City to meet a talented group of girls from Haines City High School who got the opportunity to perform an original skit they wrote for the touring cast of Broadway blockbuster Hamilton. Brianna Stewart, Chloe Anderson, and Michaela Getfield spent many long Saturdays at school learning about Alexander Hamilton in order to write their 2-minute skit, America's first political sex scandal, The Confrontation. I got the chance to chat with the girls and some of the teachers involved with this tremendous opportunity to learn about the long road it took to get Haines City High School to the Straz Center stage. Let's check it out.
I, as a history teacher, partner with the Gilder-Lehrman Institute for U.S. History a lot. They do a lot of professional development for teachers, and now they're expanding that to include students, helping teachers to create curriculum and giving these amazing opportunities to Title I students who might not otherwise have access to some of these things. What Gilder-Lehrman has done, they partnered with Rockefeller Center, with the Miranda family, with Hamilton the musical, the business behind the musical itself, and came up with enough funding that they could offer to students the ability to see Hamilton for $10. And the catch was that students had to attend these classes and learn how to analyze primary source documents, and then take those primary sources and create an original performance piece. And then they had to agree to perform it, which some of our kids, it was definitely getting them outside of their comfort zone. But I think that's where the magic happens.
Oh, my name's Chloe Anderson, and I played Angelica Schuyler Church.
My name is Michaela Getfield, and I played Elizabeth Schuyler Hamilton.
My name's Brianna Stewart, and I played Mariah Reynolds.
And basically we all just coercively wrote a scene based on the affair that Alexander Hamilton had with Mariah Reynolds, kind of ruining him and his wife Elizabeth's relationship, but also in the scene Angelica Schuyler, who is Elizabeth's older sister, is kind of getting on Mariah about how she ruined the family, and Eliza confronts Angelica and goes, well, you're not that squeaky clean either, because her and Alexander also kind of had a thing.
And we found the affair that Hamilton had with Mariah very interesting. And so we were just wondering what a conversation would look like if these three girls were all in the same room, and like how much tension there would be, and just overall how would they would react to one another.
So it was really cool to get to have sort of like put the plot twist, I guess, in it, of like not just the confrontation between Mariah and Elizabeth. It was Angelica, like the role, like it just did a whole 360, and that was like super interesting, and the idea, like we immediately wanted to do it.
Mrs. Church, Mrs. Schuyler, take a seat. I wish I had time to prepare.
Prepare for what, Mrs. Reynolds? Surely you know why we're here.
Yes, I do, Mrs. Schuyler. I can assure.
Mrs. Hamilton.
Mrs. Hamilton, mine and Alexander's relationship was purely driven from a void that we both shared.
Mrs. Reynolds, you said a void that you and Alexander shared? What void could he possibly have when my sister has given him everything he's ever deserved?
Despite Alexander's past, he has learned to overcome it by writing his way out. I assume you know this, seeing as you had a relationship with him for quite some time.
Or do you need a reminder?
Mrs. Church, no reminder is needed. I'm aware of the damage and despondency I've caused on Alexander's family, and how they will never truly be able to recover from this.
You were vulnerable. That is something that is quite clear to me. However, your affair with my brother-in-law went on long enough for you to realize at some point in time you were doing the wrong thing. Yes?
My dearest Angelica, Alexander brought an immense amount of joy into your life. That's clear to me.
Well, of course.
The letters he wrote to the both of you. I used to think that I was the only one with letters he poured his heart and soul into. So meaningful. And now they don't mean a thing. Angelica, you are the least selfish person I know. On the contrary, you should have told me. It was my right to know how you felt about my Alexander before—
Elizabeth, no, there was nothing between Alexander and I, and you should know that.
I do know that. But now I cannot help but feel the way that I do, and you should know that.
Well, it seems evident to me that there are much deeper tensions that you face, Elizabeth, with those whom are close to you, rather than me alone.
Mrs. Reynolds, as a woman, I respect you. But as a person, I truly cannot say the same. Thank you. Throughout, leading up to this, we attended Hamilton classes on Saturdays to research and to help get information on our scenes. And leading up to the showcase, we had to have our piece solidified, and that included a time limit. So we were on a time crunch, which also contributed to like the cutting of our scene down in certain lines in certain parts, but it ended up being like way better than we could have imagined, and we wouldn't like go back and change it at all. So
we were basically put into the writer of Hamilton's shoes with our own piece. We got to research the characters, research the timeline, the history of it, and we created this scene with that stuff in mind and like put it on its feet and created this piece.
Well, I think for me, one of the coolest parts about the experience, and one of the things that I think really hit home for a lot of the kids, was a lot of these experiences were intangible to them, talking about history that they were so far disconnected from, and even seeing a show that was so expensive for them to be able to see, that didn't seem like that was something they were going to be able to do. And so going through the process, they got to not only study about the history that they had been so disjointed and disconnected from, but they got to interact with it in a one-on-one perspective. Then they got to take it and use that as a foundation for a performance piece that made it more personal for them. They got to see the musical Hamilton, and then we had the group selected to perform on the Hamilton stage to actually see that this is something not only could they do, but are in fact doing.
Just to say that I performed on the Straz stage before Hamilton. That's crazy. No one gets to say that,
Or
really.
to even say, I saw Hamilton.
Yeah.
I've never felt like that, ever. And it's like adrenaline, nerves, excitement, like just there. And this like big ball inside of you, and you're like, this is happening. And like, I love it. But also I'm scared, but also it's fine. Everything's gonna be fine. It was just incredible.
It's experiences like these that kind of remind us why we love to do it, and even if in the future we're not on Broadway or we're not all in the same show on Broadway or whatever, I think it's going to be something that we're going to have to keep close to us. My art theater teacher, Mr. Henry Dixon, he always says before any production that we either see or are performing in, to let the audience escape reality for however long the production is. And that's something that that stuck with me since he said it the first time I heard him say it my freshman year. I was like, I like that saying. I'm going to keep that with me, because it quite literally is true. You know, let everyone escape what's happening in the outside world for however long the show is. If you're the one performing, tell the story. If you're the one seeing the story being told, then enjoy it. Just get lost, just escape whatever's going on in your personal life, outside world. And that's something that I love. Whenever he says it, I actually internally start to cry when he says it, but I wanted to add that. So yeah.
It was the most amazing experience to watch them take something that I love. I'm an academic research historian, you know, in addition to being a teacher. So to get to share my passion and my love of it with them and see it kind of catch on, you know, with very little intervention by me. It's like you just sit back and watch it, and it's amazing to see where they go with it.
Well, that's all I have for this month, but there's always plenty going on within the Polk County art scene. Stay tuned for a list of art events in your area. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next month for more art out and about.